Thanks, Dan. These guys have covered a lot of the technical, innovative parts of the four-year plan. I guess what I want to talk about some is how we select the projects for our four-year plan, and it may not be real high-tech or anything, but it is something that that works pretty well for us. I think I am going to come back to that one in just a little bit and talk about some of the things on it. I know that slide's pretty busy, but it does have some good information on it there. But I will come back to that in a minute. Our project selection process, basically we go through it 2 times a year. I'm going to talk about the cycle that begins August 1st, but just realize there's also one that begins February 1st, and as I go all the way through all of these, there are 2 cycles. I'm going to talk about the one for August, but the district maintenance, the process starts by the district maintenance administrator sending out a project call to the area engineers, and that happens on or about August the 1st. And then the maintenance supervisors and the area engineers get together and they talk about their roads, their pavement conditions. They go out and look at their pavements, and the maintenance supervisors give their input on what they feel is important to get on the list of projects. And the area engineer then fills out a spreadsheet or a portion of a spreadsheet that I'll hopefully show you in just a few minutes, that lists their candidate projects. And let's see, so they have about a month to get that done. It's due back into the district by September the 1st. It comes back into the district maintenance administrator again, and then he has about a month up until September the 30th to compile. We have 3 area offices in the Wichita Falls district, so he compiles the list from the 3 area offices. And then in our case, we have a gentleman back in the design office that's pretty good with mapping things for us, and so he gets with him and they get the candidate projects mapped, so that the area engineers and directors can drive them and review the roadways and score them. Now, you might note that there is both director and area engineer drives here. We started off the directors, when this has kind of been an evolving process, I guess, but the directors were originally driving all of the candidate projects and doing the scoring and prioritizing the projects. But I guess for a couple of reasons, we split that up, and the directors continued to drive basically anything non-seal coat, and the area engineer drove the seal coat requested, or drive the seal coat requested candidate projects. Like I said, a couple of reasons for that. It was kind of overwhelming for the directors to drive them all. The other thing is it gets the area engineers outside of their own area so that they can see what some of the conditions are like in some of the other areas of the district, and we feel like that's an added benefit of getting them involved in this process. October and November is when we actually drive the roads. The area engineers drive the seal coat candidate projects, the directors drive the others, and we actually score the candidate projects while we're out there. They're scored 1 through 10, 10 being worst condition, needs a project. It's a pretty immediate need. 1 is basically like new condition. And so we look at pavement condition while we're out there. We look at rutting and cracking and roughness and, various things, depending on what, whether it's a request for an overlay or a seal coat or what it is. Look at the various pavement conditions to determine how that project's going to be scored. And then we talk about it in the car and make comments. The comments are recorded on the spreadsheet, and then we give it an actual numerical score. And then in November, the directors and AEs and design engineer and district maintenance administrator all get together, and we sit in a room and put all of the projects up on the wall, and we go through a scoring and funding process and determine which ones are going to get funded. And essentially, our funding categories, we can fund either through construction, which is basically category 1 or 11. We can fund through routine maintenance, I'll call it 105, or we can fund it through contracted maintenance, 144. Let's see, the available funding is identified for each category prior to the meeting, and it's the available funding is put at the top of the spreadsheet, and then as we go through the list of projects and we fund them, then that top number is reduced until we get down to 0 in each of the funding categories. All right, so projects are funded until all identified funding sources are exhausted. The remaining projects then are placed in outlying years. And then when we go through the next process, next iteration of this process, when the district maintenance administrator sends the spreadsheet back out to the area engineer for the next round, then these that were not funded are on there again, and it's so that the area engineer will know that they're out there, they're not funded. They can either leave them on there, they can pull them off for whatever reason. Maybe their maintenance forces have gone out and made some improvements to the road, and maybe it doesn't need to be on there anymore. But anyway, it gives the area engineer the opportunity to completely update the process, or his list of candidate projects. Then once the funding is assigned, the projects are mapped by the year that they're selected for, and that map is then placed on the district website. And I guess one of our primary users of that would be the maintenance supervisors. And let's take Seal Coat for example. They know 18 months to 2 years out what roads are going to be seal coated, so they can have some additional time to get those roads up in good condition for the seal coat or for whatever the upcoming project is. This process is not used for routine maintenance activities. Routine maintenance is performed and funded by the maintenance section budget. All right, so why do we do 2 driver rounds a year? And this is where I'm going to go back just a minute to that other slide. The first drive around is over here on this side of the sheet. What we call the first drive around starts on October the 1st. And what we're doing during that drive around is updating the current FY in-house maintenance projects. We're updating current FY contract maintenance projects. We're finalizing next FY's district seal coat list. At this point, the district seal coat list is 95% firm. They can start working on plans and feel pretty confident that that's not going to change much. We also identify next FY's in-house maintenance projects, at least get started on a partial list. Next FY's contract maintenance projects, again a partial list. Identify subsequent FY's seal coat projects, partial list, and identify construction overlay and rehab projects for the next 4 years. All right, then on the February drive around, what we call our second iteration of the drive around, we're finalizing next year's FY in-house maintenance projects, finalizing next FY's contract maintenance projects, adding emergency projects to next FY seal coat. I mentioned that this one is 95% firm, but if we have something that comes up that we absolutely need to get a road on this year's seal coat, this is wrapping up about June time frame. So there is still time to get it in. Our seal coat projects typically let about October, so it's tight, but we can still get some changes made if we absolutely need to. And then we also update construction, overlay, and rehab projects for the next 4 years. And Tom, if you can help me get the spreadsheet, please.
For you, anything.
All right, thank you.
Let me move it over to here, though, because it's right now. You'll have to look at it there.
Okay. All right, I just kind of wanted to run through some of the things that are on the spreadsheet. The things with the blue headings are input by the area engineer when he submits the project list into us. That includes what county it's in, the area office of responsibility, maintenance section of responsibility, what highway it's on, limits from and to, including reference markers. You'll note that there is a place for DFO. That's basically for mapping purposes, but we determine the DFOs and so that we can get those mapped. Project length. We have included some things that we sometimes use, sometimes not, but PMIS conditions, ADT of the roadway, percent trucks. This one that you can't see very well is functional class, whether or not it's a FC6 roadway. Proposed project description, what the proposed project work is. As you can see, there's pavement widths and things like that. Okay, let's see. Right here is where we have our funding sources identified. We start off with the numbers in the yellow columns here are what our estimated amounts will be that we can fund from each of the categories, and then as we fund them, then those values are reduced. And as you can see in both 105 and 144, we overran this one a bit. But anyway, there's places for scores, there's places for area engineer comments, there's places for comments as we do the drive around. So anyway, that's kind of what our process is, and that's all that I have.